Hi everyone, it's Shar. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. It has been such a long time since I've done like a spooky books recommendation. If you are new here, I primarily read from 3 to 4 genres. My primary genre is romance, but then my other genres that I also really enjoy are horrors, thrillers, and fantasy. Today I want to do some thriller and horror recommendations for the romance reader. And I'm using that lightly because I'm a romance reader and these are the books that I really love and have a great time with. But these are also books I think could be great for the person who's looking for the spooky vibes but isn't trying to be absolutely terrified, and it could be great for the person who's new to thrillers and horrors. So without further ado, I'm gonna jump in and tell you my recommendations. I have a total of 7 books to recommend to you, and these are in no particular order at all. Some of these have romantic subplots, some of them do not, but they all fit into that category where I think if you are a romance reader or you're new to the genre, you could enjoy these books. So my first recommendation for you is The Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. This is kind of like a ghost story. We are following Viv and we're following Carly, and we have dual timelines here. So Viv is in this place called Fell, New York in the 1980s, and she is trying to save up money to move to New York City. She has very overbearing parents, a very difficult relationship with her mother, and she, as soon as she turns 18 years old in the 1980s, runs away to New York. She ends up in Fell, New York, and she is working at this motel, the Sundown Motel. And then we're about 30 to 40 years in the future, and we're following Viv's niece, Carly. And Carly has come to Fell, New York because her aunt disappeared in the 80s, and no one ever heard from her again. They assume that she has been murdered, or at least that's what they know. They know that she's been murdered, and Carly has always felt this connection to her aunt. She wants to know what happened to her aunt, why did she go missing, and why do so many girls go missing in Fell, New York? Now, Carly also ends up working at the Sundown Motel to learn more about the daily routine of her aunt. And while she's there, she starts encountering some very weird things. There is a guest who continuously checks into the Sundown Motel. We have lights that are flickering, some very shady deals. I would say Carly trying to solve what happened to her aunt all those years ago and what is going down at the Sundown Motel. If you love like a haunted motel story or a haunted house story, I think that you're going to enjoy this. While the romance in here isn't prominent, it isn't my favorite, it does exist in this story, and it's just such a quick and easy read and something you can very easily fall into. My next recommendation for you is The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. This is one of my personal favorites. You can see that I've tapped it up quite a bit. So in The Woman in Cabin 10, we are following a woman named Lo. And at the very beginning of the story, Lo has her house broken into by a burglar, and the outcome of that, she ends up thankfully being physically okay. She is not murdered, but she deals with a lot of mental repercussions from that event and has really severe anxiety as an outcome of that situation. She is on medication and she is trying to get her life back together and to feel more safe and comfortable with the world. Now, Lo is a travel writer, and there is like a new cruise that is going to the fjords, and it's like a very luxury, very small cruise. Only like 10 people can go on it. It's a lot of freaking money, and she gets the opportunity to go on board this boat to review it. Now, while she's on board this boat, she has a cabin mate. Not in her cabin, that's the wrong term. This woman who is staying on board with her and going on this cruise, but she is next door to Lo. And Lo meets this woman, they interact, they talk, and while Lo is getting ready, or I think later that night, she hears a splash in the water and she thinks, oh my gosh, someone has fallen overboard. So she runs to report it to the crew staff, and they do a head count and they're like, everyone is here, but not the woman that Lo met, not the woman that Lo knows. And she's like, no, what happened to the girl that was staying next to me? And they say, no one is staying in that room. And that kicks off this story. It sounds like a mystery. There is a mystery element to this. I would say this is a little bit more thriller than it is mystery. You will definitely get the spooks and the chills, but here it's for me all about atmosphere. And this is the book that kicked off my love for books set on boats. It is a quick and easy read. It is scary, but it's not going to terrify you. Then I have Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekuluk. This is a book that I picked up, I think, last year at some point. In Hidden Pictures, we are following a woman named Mallory. And Mallory is recovering from a drug addiction. She is currently in a rehabilitation program and she's gotten out. She has her sponsor and her sponsor says, hey, there's this family. They're looking for a nanny. You could be a really great fit for the role. This could help you get back on your feet and help you adjust to your life as it looks now. She goes and she applies for the position, and to her shock, she actually gets it. And she becomes the nanny for this young boy named Teddy. She works for this couple named Ted and Caroline. So Ted and Caroline, they're doing their own thing, right? Caroline is a psychiatrist. Ted is there. He's low-key kind of creepy. And we have their sweet little boy, Teddy. Now, the thing about Teddy is that Teddy is drawing really, really disturbing pictures. There's actually some pictures in the book. They start off sweet and innocent. Teddy playing in the sun, playing with bears, playing with bunnies. There's a hot air balloon. It's super cute. And they turn into things like this. And Mallory is talking to the parents, and she's understandably like, hey, love your son. He's super cute. We're having a great time. He's drawing these pictures and they're very, very disturbing. But did I mention that while Mallory is a live-in nanny for this family, she actually lives in this kind of converted shed in their backyard. And that shed has a very dark history where they believe that in the 1940s, someone was brutally murdered in that cabin. Oh, hell no! She starts to experience some very strange things. She thinks that the house is haunted. She thinks that the little converted shed is haunted as well. She's concerned because Teddy is drawing these things. And of course, the family is also gaslighting her. And the people around her are gaslighting her because she is recovering from a drug addiction. And she is trying to navigate all of that. I really enjoyed this book. It goes completely wild at the end. I'm not a huge fan of how it ends, at least some elements of it. I was like, side eye, but I did really enjoy this book overall. And if you're looking for a fun read, I think you could have a great time reading this. It is chunky, but don't let that disturb you. There are a lot of really beautiful illustrations in here, and the story just moves along at a very quick pace. I'm also going to recommend to you a book that you all know I love, and that is The Diviners by Libba Bray. Specifically, the audiobook, and more specifically, Lair of Dreams, which is the second book in The Diviners, but you still got to read book one. So The Diviners follows this young girl called Evie O'Neill. Evie is a party gal in Ohio. She pisses off the wrong person. Her parents are sick of her and they ship her off to New York City to live with her uncle and recover from her partying ways. But of course, it's New York City in the 20s.
She's gonna party and drink some more.
Which is what she does. But while she is in New York and she's living with her uncle in this museum of curiosity, there is a string of murders. There is a serial killer in New York, and her uncle gets drawn into that because of his expertise with the occult and with cults in general. And they seem to think that there's some kind of ritual going on with these murders. So that is what they end up doing. They bring in her uncle, and Evie, my gal, gets wrapped into that because she has the ability to touch any object and learn the history of that object and the person for whom it belongs to. So she decides that she's going to help solve this mystery. It is paranormal. It is horror. The audiobook is really scary because the voice acting is amazing and you get to hear the serial killer's song, which is so disturbing. But yeah, I recommend this. I think this is a really great time if you're looking for a 1920s setting. There's real life horror of actually living in that time period and what was going on for various communities in that time period, and then the paranormal horror of ghosts and demons and the horror of a serial killer. It is a great time. It is going to spook you, but it is very well balanced. We have a little bit of romance. I know everyone likes Evie and this other guy. My personal ship is Theta and Memphis. I think that they are so cute together. And yeah, if you are a romance reader and you're looking for a spooky book to read, you want to get into that kind of genre, The Diviners could be a great place to start. And I have Reckless Girls by Rachel Hawkins. This is also one of my personal faves. It is the fastest book on this list. It is long, but it reads like this when I tell you. So in Reckless Girls, we are following Lux and her boyfriend, Nico. And Lux and Nico are living in Hawaii. Nico has this boat. They want to go on like this worldwide adventure, but they don't have the money to do that. And one day, these very, very wealthy girls, Brittany and Anna, come and they hire Lux and Nico to take them to this very remote island off of the coast of Hawaii that no one else will take them to because it is known to be haunted. It is the site of cannibalism because of a shipwreck that happened many, many years ago. But it's a deal they can't turn down, so they all go to this island. And when they get there, they find that there is actually another ship docked there. And so begins our very hazy, very dreamy story of all of these people feeling like they're living in paradise. But of course, it is a thriller slash horror slash mystery. I call them all the same thing because I don't really know the difference. Shh. But they all go there and things start to go wrong. You know, we've got close proximity. We have everyone on the island. We have excessive heat. We have delusions. And as you can imagine, that is a recipe for disaster. It is not what you think it is, I will say, and it is a great time. Then I'm gonna recommend to you A House at the Bottom of the Lake by Josh Mallerman. This is not a book for everyone, but this is a book I gave 5-star. It is super short. It is like a horror novella, and it is weird, and I love it for that. So in A House at the Bottom of the Lake, we are following Amelia and James. And Amelia and James are teenagers living in this small town, and one day they meet and there's an instant chemistry. And James asks Amelia on a date and they go canoeing on this lake. It's very much about them and first love and the early stages of being in love. And they're on their little date and they end up canoeing through this kind of tunnel, and on the other side they end up on this very still lake. And in that lake there's a house at the bottom of the lake. Now the thing about this house is that it's perfectly intact. Number one, why is there a house at the bottom of the lake? And number two, why is it intact? So Amelia and James go, they dive to check it out, and they decide they're gonna come back and do that every day. And as they fall more in love with each other, they fall more in love with the house. But of course, there's something sinister going on with the house. It does have an ambiguous ending. It is very dreamlike in its quality, but of course, the central point is Amelia and James, their relationship, and them also bringing that house into the relationship. But yes, it is a really weird book. It is a really great time. It is super short. So I say at least check it out and see what you think. It's something that I love and I can't wait to reread. And my final book on this list is an all-time favorite. I read this in January of this year and I am obsessed with it. And that of course is These Fleeting Shadows by Kate Alice Marshall. This is a haunted house story. In These Fleeting Shadows, you are following Helen Vaughn, and Helen's grandfather has just died. She gets notification of that, and Helen is a teenager, so she is living with her mother and her stepfather. They decide that they're going to go up to the house, Harrow House, which they haven't been to since Helen was a young child because they fled when Helen was 8 years old. So they go to pay their respects to her mother's father, Helen's grandfather, and while they're there at the funeral, Helen gets the news that the entire Harrow estate has been left to her, and she will become incredibly rich and become the master of Harrow Hall, because Harrow Hall always needs a master. Now there's one condition for Helen to get this house, and that is that she needs to stay there for a year, and the house needs to accept her as its master. But while she's there, Helen is having trouble sleeping. She has a bunch of creepy family members who are hella problematic. She is waking up in the middle of the night outside. There's something digging holes, and there is a rule. She is not allowed to go outside after dark because of what is outside of the home. But she doesn't know what that is. It becomes very clear to her that there is something going on, that the house is haunted, and there is a romance, a sapphic romance, because there is a witch who lives in the woods, and she and Helen develop a relationship. This story goes somewhere that I cannot even tell you, but it is beautiful, it is gothic, it is fairy tale-esque, and it is creepy. audiobook for this is also fantastic. So if you're looking for an audiobook, I recommend this one. But that does bring us to the end of this video. Just a few recommendations for the books within this genre that I really enjoy as a romance reader, and books that I think that you could enjoy if you're a romance reader, or if you're just looking to get into the genre to start with and you want to just dip your toes within the realm of spooky books. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you did enjoy it. Let me know if you read any of these books, or if there are any books that you would recommend for people who fall within this category, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.